Hey everyone, I'm showing up for some practice in the morning. It's about 7 a.m. here, and yeah, this is day 8 of consistent practice, and it's the most longest streak of consistent practice I've had in a while. Um, so I'm just gonna try to keep that ball rolling, um, and I'm just gonna warm up by counting 100 heartbeats. First, finding the heartbeat, and then counting. That was good. That was actually pretty peaceful. Counting 100 heartbeats, kind of dropping in. Noticing how, like, one thing about staying consistent is it's like every day, like I kind of feel a little different, or at least, you know, some days I feel one way, some days I feel another way. And if I wasn't so focused on staying consistent, I might just not practice unless I felt a certain way. Um, so yeah, like definitely the way I feel this morning and the circumstances, I wouldn't practice. But especially like being able to kind of use my voice and like talk myself through it really helps. So I'm gonna count maybe like 200 heartbeats for another concentration warm up, kind of settle in, and Okay, that's great. And definitely kind of dropped in and a little more focused. So just gonna put awareness straight to the lower dantian. Just putting my awareness to the location of the lower dantian. Like I was talking about yesterday, I still struggle with the lower dantian. I don't feel a lot there yet in terms of sensation, um, but it is starting to build. So it just takes time. Okay, so the energy already jumped down to the front pelvic center. So just gonna follow that. At this point, it's kind of more important to open the channel from the front pelvic center up to the tailbone, up the spine. Um, because otherwise, without that channel open, it'll be difficult to retain any energy that's raised at the navel. So just gonna follow the energy flow to the front pelvic center. Again, not with any physical touch, but just like a body scan, just feeling the sensations at that front of the pelvic bone. Also, not really scanning into the Jing essence in any of the specific like organs of the urogenital system yet, but just staying with like that center point on the front of the pelvic bone. For me, this is a very complicated energy center. There's a lot of like trauma and associations and habit patterns like stored in this energy center from earlier in my life that um, where concentrating on this energy center tends to bring up a lot. It's a lot less neutral than really any other energy center. So this kind of part of the process is working with the energy in the front pelvic center. It is like one of the main energy sources in the body, and when that energy can be, I guess, like directed um, in like the right way, then it can actually be really beneficial. But if it's, you know, goes off into some unhealthy direction, then it can be really destructive. So that's a big part of my practice is like kind of dealing with that. So just getting back to the raw sensation there. Because when, especially in this case, I could see how when my mind wanders off, it's not just wandering off like randomly. The mind wanderings are like the stored trauma and the stored emotions and the associations from this area all kind of like being like bubbling up in a way. And I'm going to move now to the middle pelvic center and the center of the pelvic floor, and just put my awareness there, and again just looking for the energy to follow. That's good. The energy definitely follows there, follows to there pretty good. Now going to move energy to the tailbone. So just moving my awareness to the tailbone and the energy will follow. Again, especially thinking about that connective tissue, where it's that connective tissue between the PC muscle and the tailbone. That's like the transformation stage. That's good. The energy followed really well into there. And bringing back a mental note of like where I left off in the sacrum yesterday. It's kind of like in the center of the sacrum. Feeling some energy drift back to the front pelvic center when I lose focus to some extent. Um, so that's okay, because that's just like more practice to keep on training the energy to go to the tailbone and up the spine, um, instead of down and out. So just observing that, feeling the sensations in the front pelvic center again. Again, not with physical touch, just with awareness. I'm kind of bored. This feels kind of routine, kind of, you know, I don't feel really engaged. I don't feel a lot of like new stuff happening. So I do want to just admit that sometimes that can be one sticking point in this practice for me where I might lose consistency is when it starts to feel that way. Um, and there are some like habits I need to address outside practice because I think um, I lost some energy in a certain way that is maybe um, my practice is a little bit duller this morning, unfortunately. Um, so, so yeah, kind of showing up and practicing anyway, but also recognizing that it's showing me, and the practice is showing me that I really need to figure out um, how to solve that energy loss problem. I don't want to go too much into detail. I'm going to try to refocus back on the energy centers. I'm going to address that stuff later, but just so I can actually practice now. And I mean, this practice still counts. It is showing up and working with my awareness along these lines. Um, Anyhow, focusing on the center of the pelvic floor, drawing the energy there. Then drawing the energy to the tailbone by putting awareness on the tailbone. And that's kind of the thing is like, how do you move the energy? How do you make the energy move? Well, you put your awareness where you want the energy to go next. And especially in the beginning, if it's like, you know, close enough proximity to where it is now, then the energy will flow there. Um, like if you want to move energy from like the tip of your finger to the base of your finger, then you can do that by just you know moving your awareness um, without a lot of practice. But if you want to move energy from the tip of your finger to your shoulder, that's going to take more practice to be able to move it that far. So, but either way, eventually all it is you put your awareness where you want the energy to go, and then where attention goes, energy flows. Right now, the sensations in the tailbone, sacrum area. And yeah, I start to get kind of bored when it reaches the sacrum. Like, that was why the energy slipped last time, because I don't know, there's something I need to apply myself more to what's happening in the sacrum. There's almost like a pain. So I don't really understand that, but again, just want to switch from like having words about it to just actually experiencing the raw sensation of it. Oh yeah, and the energy slipped back to the front pelvic center again. So I'll do one more round of walking it to the tailbone and up the spine as far as I can, um, and then I'll take a break. I need to do some work on another aspect of this practice that is kind of holding me back. So, or another area of my life that's holding me back from progressing more in this practice. So, yep, okay, so the energy slipped back to the front pelvic center. Um, so I'm just concentrating on it there now for a moment, again, without any physical touch, just just with my awareness. Oh wow, it already went to the tailbone like automatically. That's actually pretty cool. Um, it just jumped straight to the tailbone. I didn't even do anything. Okay, so the energy meridians are becoming a little more automatic already. There's a bird chirping outside. It's kind of nice. Yeah, I did say it went straight to the tailbone, and it definitely did. But I am also now feeling some energy go to the middle of the pelvic floor because it. I was wondering why I kind of skipped that point. So I'm just concentrating on the middle of the pelvic floor for a moment. And then I'm going to go back to the tailbone this time, like on purpose. There's the tailbone, and then up into the sacrum. Concentrating on the sacrum. Trying to remember that the last two rounds I was on the sacrum and then my mind drifted off and the energy slipped away. So trying to concentrate a bit more, trying to apply myself. Still got it. Still got it at the sacrum. Before I was getting bored at the sacrum, but now it's kind of like the challenge of knowing that if my focus falters too much, the energy will slip away. Um, that challenge is kind of keeping me engaged. So, yep, just staying with it. Still got it with the sensation at the sacrum. Just holding it there at the sacrum. If I don't stay focused, then the energy could slip back at any moment. So I'm just staying focused. I'm gonna try to bring my mind to the top of the sacrum, just see if the energy will follow. Trying to stay concentrated on the top of the sacrum. My mind's going off into trains of thought and kind of narratives about this and that, which is all important stuff too, and I'm going to address that at some point, but it's important to set some time aside for practice. Kind of put the mind to the side and focus on the energy. Still got it. Still got the energy on the top of the sacrum there. Staying with it. Feeling like this might be about it for me for this session. I'm sure I'll probably practice more later in the day. Um, but for now, I'm just going to stay with that sensation in the top of the sacrum. Just trying to focus as hard as I can on it. I guess I feel like nothing new is going to happen no matter how much I focus on this area right now. I just feel like nothing new is going to happen. So, like, what's the point or something? So, definitely just my mindset about practice can vary a lot from day to day. And there's something else that's kind of got me down. So, but, it's at least I'm practicing. Like, I think like I said, this is the longest streak of um, continuous daily practice that I've had in a while. And before this, if I would have felt the way I felt this morning before practice, I would have lost my streak and probably not got it back for a while. So, staying consistent, because that's one thing I've learned is, you know, um, just show up, you know, create that long term consistency. There's going to be, you know, great days and there's going to be not so great days, but any practice is better than no practice. But I am still staying with that top of the sacrum. Staying with that top of the sacrum. Sometimes it is almost like a pain at the top of the sacrum. And I guess maybe that's like some kind of energy block or it could even be like some kind of injury around that area. That's, you know, I mean, I know I haven't injured my back recently, but, it could be some kind of damage that took place at some point in my life that is just getting healed right now. So just got to give it time. Can't just force the energy up the spine. And, I never feel like where I'm at is good enough, but I mean, in reality, like just being able to bring the energy up to this point is actually something I do want to stop and appreciate. I mean, yeah, I want the energy all the way up my spine and my whole orbit open and, to be at higher levels of practice, but that's going to just take time. And it's almost like for the first time in my life, I'm actually doing the practice that I have to do to get there. I've had all this information in my head for the longest time, but now I'm actually doing the practice. Still, still got my awareness target on the top of the sacrum. I'll do some spinal cord rocking. As I'm doing the spinal cord rocking, I'm like continuing to keep a percentage of my awareness on that awareness target on the top of the sacrum. It's just not moving much from there. It's just there. But it hasn't slipped back either, so just just gotta give it time. And these things too, I think part of the practice is like, it does kind of require me to be patient and um, in order to progress in the practice, I do have to become more patient through like choosing to be patient now. Um, and that's one of the ways that like the practice itself kind of actually um, creates like some spiritual growth for me. It actually, it requires me to be patient, so I have to practice patience, and you know that'll make me more patient. So there's spiritual growth like in that as well as just like the um, energy meridians and energy centers themselves. Just kind of being here with like, man, this is taking forever. I want something different to be happening right now. It's just still there at the top of the sacrum. This is why I can't really do like guided meditations for this. I mean, I can't really use guided meditations for this for my own practice because like the guided meditation will be like, okay, now put your awareness here, put your awareness here, put your awareness here, put your awareness here. But it will not um, be as attentive to my actual, what's actually going on. Like it's taking longer at certain places or it's moving faster through certain places. Like I need to actually like kind of do that myself. I can't just um, rely on a guided meditation to tell me what to focus on. I mean, sometimes that could be a useful exercise, but I think that sometimes it just concentrating back on the top of the sacrum, still still there, hasn't moved. I think I did pretty good for now. I think I'm going to conclude the session here. One thing I noticed after last night's session, which pretty much ended at the same location, was even after I like walked away from the session, I still continued to feel residual sensation in that area on the top of the sacrum. So I'm going to look out for that again, because it's kind of like how like when we plant a seed in the garden, like water the garden, the seed's eventually going to sprout. We don't know exactly when it's going to sprout, um, and like we can't really make the seed sprout, but we can plant it and put water on it to help support it in sprouting. So like eventually this sort of seed that is being planted in the top of the sacrum is going to sprout, and um, so just keep giving it time, keep taking care of the garden. So like more patient thoughts like that, instead of just getting so frustrated that the energy won't move on yet, that I just get frustrated and quit or something. Um, so yeah, just concluding practice for now. Going to check back in on it later. And thanks for joining me. Talk to you later.